cut off my mother because she allowed the guy who essayed me to visit my daughter. 10 years later, she wants to fix our relationship and get to know her grandkids. 13 years ago, I was essayed by my boyfriend's ex-best friend when I was 16. My mother never liked my husband ever since we started dating back when we were 13. She always wanted me to be with Jay because Jay came from a good family. So when Jay assaulted me, she didn't believe me despite all the evidence that he assaulted me. Jay's mom was also my mom's boss, so I think that might have had a huge part in her not believing me. So while I was waiting for trial, I moved in with my boyfriend and his parents. During this time, I found out I was pregnant, and I knew it wasn't my boyfriend's because we were never intimate, and I was never with anyone like that beforehand. Jay ended up taking a plea deal, got no jail time in exchange for him never having any right to see my daughter. When my daughter was born, my mother asked me to move back home and said sorry for everything, and she did. A year after my daughter was born, I went to college a few hours away, and my mom retired early to watch her while I went to college. During the week I stayed on campus so I didn't have to drive back and forth, and on the weekends I came home, and I also called every night to make sure my daughter was okay. My second year of college, me and my boyfriend eloped, and my mom did not like that one bit, even though we've been together for 6 years at that point, and he takes care of my daughter like she's his and still does to this day. So one day we had a big snowstorm and my Thursday and Friday classes were canceled. So I went home early without telling my mom, and guess who was in the kitchen when I walked in? Jay's mom, my mom and Jay. Jay was also holding my daughter when I walked in. They were surprised to say the least, and I started flipping out naturally, and grabbed my daughter and packed a bag with her stuff. My mother and Jay's mother were pleading with me to not leave while I was packing. When I went to leave, my mom was crying now, begging me to forgive her. I said I would never forgive her, and went to walk out. On my way out, Jay grabbed my arm and said I should be nicer to my mother. My mother called me hundreds of times, but I never answered her. I left, got an apartment with my husband and daughter, got a babysitter for when I was in class. A week after this incident, my mother put over $100K in my bank account to buy me over or get me to talk to her. I really don't know. My younger sister just got married and my mother was at the wedding, and I had to be civil to her. She asked about my daughter and son and current pregnancy. She told me how she wanted to fix things with me and see her grandkids before she eventually dies, and how she's always believed me about the assault. She just didn't want to be fired. I asked her if she still hangs out with Jay's mother. She said sometimes, but mostly at church. I left the conversation at that. She's my mother. I love her. I miss her. She raised me and my sister all by herself, but I don't know if I will ever be able to completely forgive her. I haven't decided what I'm going to do yet. Long story, sorry about that. I just wanted to vent about the current crap in my life.
Update on: cut off my mother because she allowed the guy who saved me to visit my daughter. 10 years later, she wants to fix our relationship and get to know her grandkids. For the first time in 10 years, I called my mother. I wanted to talk to her more and see if we can move forward from what happened, and to see if I can forgive her. So I called her, and she answered right away. The conversation went well at first. We were talking about current things in our life. My mom is finally actually dating someone for the first time since my father left her. And then the conversation somehow turned into church, which led to her talking about Jay. She just felt the need to inform me how much my daughter looks like his other kids, 'cause apparently I'm supposed to care. I told her I did not want to talk about him, but she continued. My mother informed me that he's a better person now, and feels terrible for what he did, and how I should forgive him because it happened so long ago. I should be over it by now. I got pissed at her. My mother has never heard about what happened from me. She only ever listened to his story about what happened. So I told her what happened, what really happened, and how her talking about the man who assaulted me will make me have zero respect for her. I told her to never call me, to keep our relationship the way it's been for the last years, because she is never going to change. I feel really hurt, but I mostly feel really stupid for thinking my mother has changed at all. I don't understand why I'm not good enough for her to make her stop talking to him and his family. I'm not going to bring any of my kids around her. It sucks that I can't let my kids see their grandmother, but she has hurt me too much, and how would I know she won't hurt them somehow? I can't trust her to be around them. There were a lot of comments on my first post, and I wasn't able to respond to all of them, so I will answer a few questions I saw here. Why did I keep my daughter? I personally could never get an abortion. I believe it's anyone's choice to do so, but I couldn't do it. I thought about giving her up for adoption and was thinking about going through with it. But once I saw her when she was born, she was my little girl. When I look at her, I don't see him. I see her. The loving and amazing kid she is. Jay's mother didn't do anything wrong, so why do I not like her? Jay's mother has deep connections in the town I lived in at the time, so she told everyone that I was a lying slut. That Jay didn't assault me, we had intimacy, and I felt guilty about it, and I lied saying he assaulted me. Where did the 100,000 come from? This is something I still don't know. My mother has always had money, but not that much money. How many times did my mother allow Jay to visit my daughter behind my back? I also don't know the answer to this one. I asked my sister if she knew this was happening because she was still in high school living with my mother. She said she never saw Jay at the house, so she doesn't know either. Does my daughter know my husband isn't her biological dad? No. My daughter does not know he isn't. Only really close family members know he isn't. When my daughter gets older, I will tell her.